Hi, welcome back to Heather's Crochet Corner. In this video, we are doing a product review for this yarn bowl. And with this yarn bowl did come a set of crochet hooks from the size of 2mm. Hope you guys can see that. I'm not really sure. From 2mm, it's etched right there, all the way to a 6mm. So you get, again, this yarn bowl, which is wood. It's got a little bit of weight to it. It's not like super heavy, but it'll definitely should stay in place. I guess you could put maybe something on the bottom to maybe keep it from sliding around if you have enough left. But this is an oblong yarn bowl, which you typically don't see them in this size. Typically they're, like rounded and smaller, meant for actual yarn balls. But I thought this was a nice product to attempt to review because I do use a lot of partial skeins like this in a bullet style. I don't typically rewind my yarn into balls, but you could, and clearly you'd probably get a couple of yarn balls in here if you wanted to. But to give you an idea of the size, let's see here. I do have a couple of brand new bullet style skeins with me. This one's a Mary Maxim. It's a 100 gram or 3.5 ounces, whichever means of measurement makes sense to you. So clearly that size would fit in there great. You've got plenty of room, as you can see. So something that small would definitely work well in that yarn bowl. I do have other sizes here. In other brands, I have a loops and thread here, which is 5 ounces for 141 grams. I've got a Bernat Super Value, I believe is comparable in size. Yes, 5 ounces and 142 grams. So as you can see, loops and threads fits great. Bernat Super Value fits well in those sizes. Again, here's the weight. So if you've got, most of us have skeins of this size. So this is the most common size that you're going to find in your craft stores like Michael's or Walmart or Joann's or whichever yarn store or craft store is closest to you. This is typically the most common size. So there you go. You can see that fits perfectly well. I do have some that are a little bit bigger. I do have a Premier Basics. This one is a 7 ounce versus the 5 ounce from the last one. It's 200 grams. That is snug. It does seem to be enough room though where it can move around, but that might be maybe the biggest, largest you'd want to go. I do have one more here. I have a Red Heart All-in-One Granny. This one I believe is like 8.8. I know it's super small print. 8.8 ounces or 250 grams. That's the weight. That might be the largest you could fit in there. It's not going to spin very well, but what I have learned is it's not meant so much for the outside pullers like myself. For this particular yarn bowl, you're going to want to find the center and pull from the center. That's the key. I did try in a previous but unsuccessful video not 5 minutes ago to see how it would work with a partially used. Again, I'm an outside puller, just, well, by nature, and pulling it from the outside does pose a bit of a challenge. It does kind of get stuck. I mean, I know you're supposed to typically, wind it through the little spiral cutout. I did find that it wasn't, see how it kind of wants to get caught there. It's not really a smooth pull. Let me just rewrap that real quick. So you're going to want to use, find the center and use the center pull. So again, this is wood. It has the spiral shaped cutout, which most yarn bowls have. So you can feed your yarn through. In my case, I found that using this, the yarn eventually makes its way out. I don't typically, this is my first time using a yarn bowl. I don't have a whole lot of experience with them, and this is just for a review purposes. You do have 3 holes here that you could feed the yarn through. This particular model also has 3 slightly larger holes on one side for maybe like the chunky yarns. I do find that the top part here, the outside, is smooth and has been sanded well, but once you get down to where it starts to curve down in here, it's a little rough. So they didn't quite sand it very well. So I imagine anything, some of your yarns you may find get a little snagged. So I wouldn't necessarily put your yarn through the little spiral cutout. I'd be more likely to stick them through the hole, which did seem to work. As far as threading the yarn through, let's just use a cake here. Here's a little, I'm going to call it a mini cake. It's a partially used Caron cake. And since I did say it's easier to use a center pull than an outside pull, I'm going to thread it through one of the holes here. And what I did find, rather than trying to like force your yarn through the backside, is just use a yarn needle. If you're having trouble sort of feeding it through, just use a yarn needle. There you go. While we're speaking of the hole sizes, what I did find out, again, in the last video, it didn't turn out too well. Here's a 6mm hook. I found that the 6mm was the absolute largest you could get through here. Let me try that again. It did go in, should come out a little. Well, it was easier, I assure you. It was easier when I tested it before I started the video. So maybe the 6 would be just slightly too big. A 5.5 seems to be the sweet spot. I did notice the holes on this side were slightly larger, so while it was a bit tough getting the 6 in, I could easily get the 6 in and out of here. So again, if you're using like a chunky yarn, like a size 5, you could probably even get a size, it's like a 6 weight yarn through the side. So that's a bonus, but again, you're probably going to want to make sure that you're pulling it from the center, because pulling it from the center is so much easier and smoother than trying to pull it from the outside and feeding it through. As far as these hooks go, again, they come with this particular bowl. I'm going to try to find the link and place that in the description below. But again, these hooks are size 2 to size 6mm, which is about your average size hook for most projects. If you're getting anything smaller than the 2, then you're working with really dainty, lacy yarns and like the yarn thread or the crochet thread. And if you're working with anything larger than a 6, you're probably doing a lot of work with like the super chunkies, like the size 6 yarns or even size 7s. So from a 2 to a 6, that's a good all-around size range for the hooks. The handles are made of wood. They're a slightly lighter color than the bowl itself. But they do seem to be an aluminum hook with a wooden handle, much like this here. It's all aluminum. For me personally, I mean, it's nice that they have like a bit of a grippy area for your thumb and your index finger. But honestly, it's just my preference. It's nothing to do with the design or quality. It's just it feels really weird for me. I don't like the feel of it. Again, my preference. I'm not saying it's a good hook to use or not a good hook to use. It's just with anything in crochet, it's a matter of preference. I prefer an outside pull versus a center pull. I realize if I want to use this yarn bowl, I'm going to have to become a center puller, which is fine if it works out that way. And then for the wooden hook handle, looks nice. It's nicely engraved with the size, so you can easily read it. I don't prefer this feeling in my fingers versus just the flat of an aluminum or the flat side of like an ergonomic. Again, my preference. I'm sure it works fine as a hook, but again, if you're thinking of a gift set for the crocheter or a knitter in your life, and I know there's lots of yarn options, and even people in my family are a little intimidated of buying yarn from me. They don't know what I use or what's good. You could always get the person who knits or crochets a nice yarn bowl. Again, this comes with a set of hooks, and as you can see, you could probably fit 2 little cakes in here. So if you are using 2 different colors for your project, you could have one on this side feeding through these holes here or through the cutout. You could have a second one feeding through the side here. So it would keep your yarn together. What's nice is that it is oblong, so you can get, again, 2 cakes in here. You could get, like a full-size bullet style in there, and you can take this with you. It's light enough. I won't say it's compact, but it is easy to carry. It also stores your hooks, stores your scissors, stores your yarn needle. So you could, for my case, my craft room is in the basement. So if I wanted to take this upstairs, I could easily bring it upstairs and set it next to me while I watch TV. And I can also bring it back down when I want to bring it back down. So yeah, it's a decent enough yarn bowl. It comes with a set of hooks, which are very common sizes and most commonly used sizes. The color is nice. It's like it's smooth everywhere except for once it starts to get into this little spiral cutout. I don't know for sure how well sanded it is in these holes here because I can't get anything small enough to verify. I can see it's not quite clean as far as like the holes here, so not the best sanding job through here. So just be careful. I wouldn't really use anything larger than, you can probably get a 6 weight through the cutout for sure. I don't know that I would feed like the chenille type yarns through here. I think you might find that it will shed and ruin your yarn. You could probably get a 6 through the side holes, but again, just be careful. If you have a means of maybe cleaning up the holes and the burrs that are in there, I think you'll be all right. I don't have a means of doing so, so I probably wouldn't use that myself. But otherwise, it's a great gift set. I don't know that I'd give it a 5 out of 5 stars. I'd probably give it a 4 out of 5 stars, only because I wish it were sanded better through the areas in which the yarn's going to be fed through. Other than that, the hooks seem to be of good quality. The hooks themselves feel okay. I don't feel any sharp edges or burrs on them. It's just where they've cut out a place for you to grip onto. It's nice because otherwise it's very slick and you might not have a good grip on it, but it's just the overall feeling for me, not a fan. Again, it's my preference. It's nothing to do with the quality of the product itself. It does seem to be a bit of an average length. Seem to be slightly shorter than what I typically use, which for me isn't a make or break sort of situation. So if you are a fan of the shorter hooks, then you might really enjoy these. But again, for me, it's just the grip. I think if they had added like a I won't say plastic, like a rubber, like little inserts in between here, I think that'd be okay. I think I could get past it, but it just feels really weird for me. But again, just my personal opinion. You might be okay with it. It may not bother you at all. I might have a thing with textures and how things feel, but again, preference. So yeah, overall a decent product. So again, if you're looking for a gift for the yarn crafter in your life, and you find buying yarn a little too confusing or intimidating, a yarn bowl is always a good gift idea. They do come in various sizes and shapes and designs, but this particular kit comes with a very common size set of crochet hooks. So yeah, there's not much more else to say, but thank you for joining me here. I hope you'll come back for the next video.